Yo, what's up, YouTubers? I'm Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness, especially sharing my life stories with Asperger's syndrome, OCD, and the like. I welcome you all with open arms, obviously, for the newbies that are coming onto my page for whatever reason it may be, maybe seeking answers to your everyday problems or having some form of support when you're down and out. I'm your girl, hopefully, to be your support, mentor, advocate, and the like of these type labels or what have you, or shall we say titles. Just to clear up anything right now, I'm taking a break from the nitty-gritty stuff, even though I felt in my heart that I should have continued it, but just hoping I'm not going to get so much hate based on it, because obviously what I share is obviously from my life experiences as well, to share with you all, and not to force it down on you or what have you, because obviously the choice is yours from whatever it may be. So therefore, we just need to be in mind that what I give out in a tips and advice mode, regardless what it may be, that hopefully it will roll over to what you guys are going through, and maybe seeing similar warning signs and symptoms, especially for these nitty-gritty topics and whatever, is to seek help for yourself or your loved one, or vice versa, yourself only, as well as second opinion. Like I keep saying, I don't forever condone any self-harm. In the meantime, however, I'm going to try and bring out some more autism and series, or just some more autism based topics that may have been floating about with some people in the autistic community, based on my opinions of it all, especially some of the ones that has been talked about a lot and has been such a controversial topics. Hearsay, autism and vaccines is one of them, which will be coming up soon, as well as basically some other bits and pieces which will be coming up as well, which right now though I'm going to try and break these ones into part of the autism. And this one's all about the high and functioning low autism kind of topics, obviously, because this one has been talked about over on the Facebook for so many months now that I have looked at, and it has been obviously getting up people's goat about, what we should be called, if we should be called high functioning versus low functioning, and how we feel about it in this day and age. So let's begin this before I run out of time. So this one's part one of it, which is the differentiation between the high functioning and low functioning autism definitions and whatnot. And obviously, as I said before though, before I begin this, I can't stress it out enough, there's a disclaimer, I'm no medical doctor, I'm just your normal Joe blogs. So basically bear in mind what I'm sharing with you all today and every day, or whatever it is. So even though these are based on my opinions, based on how I feel, as well as what I think, besides the feeling of it all, even though many people might think, ugh, SB, why do you have to talk about how you feel? But I'm just trying to be as real as and simplistic with you guys, regardless of what topic I bring, because obviously some of it are really strong topics that I need to clearly get off my chest and share with you all. So obviously, as I said before, I have noticed quite a few argumentations or confusion versus all these other mixed feelings and emotions rolled into one about the significant emphasis about the functioning labels of the high functioning versus the low functioning autism. Okay, this is obviously in the autism parenting world versus basically the autistic community pages that I'm on. Okay, I have made my argument really clear to some people about how I feel about it, about these function labels, but I'll share my piece on that on part two. I'm trying to make sure to keep these short and sweet, so bear with me. Okay, when I have come to my conclusion of the argument of these functioning labels, however, these has been arbitrary and sometimes has made no sense to me when I first come into contact with people that have been sharing these, even though now and again I may have been accused of not knowing what it is like, obviously, to be called high functioning versus low functioning, but now I do, obviously, after having to live up with Asperger's syndrome, even though as I said, Asperger's syndrome is a mild form of autism, so to speak, but I'll clearly link that up to you guys to share more of what Asperger's syndrome is like for me in my playlistings, because obviously, as we know, for any parents that has a child with autism, they will not say something like, to the child that they're not high functioning or low functioning. Okay, sometimes how I feel about it, I can be in a mix of emotions for the children of these such parents that has the ignorance or what have you to do so. But as we know, no child should ever feel like they are not completely and unconditionally loved, however, by the parents. Okay, I've also basically seen, and it makes me really cry out at night sometimes. It makes me heartbroken, upset, and whatnot for some of the parents that may have kids with autism, that even though we don't like using the high and low functioning, labels, that most parents, not all, are turning their backs on their children of a loving and beautiful relationship with the children with autism. No amount of support and sympathy obviously is worth that. Okay, as we know, basically, though, there has been a huge great deal of confusion surrounding these terms of high functioning versus low functioning, simply because of how vague it really is. So the question we may be thinking is, what does those two terminology means of the low functioning and high functioning, right? Is it to be measured the same way as the wattage of a light bulb, or for example, or maybe just a complex calculable abilities of what we do on a computer in this day and age? For many people though, however, as it pertains to autism, it can be simply just being the difference between speaking and not speaking. Or for others, it may be the differentiation of perceived IQ levels. Okay, well, I've been sitting here trying to engage with some of the people in the autistic community based on this terminology, though. While I've been thinking about sharing this with you all, I've always thought of it in terms of maybe the different levels or indicators to the level of our ability, to be independent. Could I be wrong? I always thought basically, can they feed for themselves, provide for themselves, be able to provide accommodation, shelter for themselves, maintaining a job, etc., etc., function in their own kind of world. Even though, as I said before, that in our world it's different. Sometimes it can have more chaos than, good, but then again, having autism isn't always that bad, however. Whether or not that means using a device to speak for them or having the high IQ levels, whatever the differentiation here, it doesn't really matter. So long as they can live independently, they are high functioning, so they think. If they cannot, however, on the other hand, they are low functioning. However, bear in mind, I don't maintain this is the correct way to think of these terms, but simply that's how I feel and think about it, but more of how I feel and think about it too in the second phase when I hear them or use them myself. So I basically accidentally, when I first was just doing my research, doing those terms, so bear with me. I'm trying not to cause any disagreements. As I said, this is just based on what I've found out and research, based on my food for thought too. But more on my food for thought later. The reality though is that whether or not you agree with this form of terminology or not, you're going to have to get used to it, because obviously as of 2012 the discussion is no longer what it means or how it used to be or how it's used. But whether you are using it pre-DSM-5 or post-DSM-5, because obviously the DSM-5 and DSM-4 manual obviously has the different differentiations or definitions, shall we say, in a way of what it's said about. Up until the DSM-5, however, that ASD, or as I said, the autism spectrum disorder, has always been a list of common disorders such as autistic disorder, PDD and OS, and Asperger's syndrome, which was added in the DSM-4. That means that there really is no higher or level, low or high levels, shall we say. Excuse me. There's simply a different disorder to fall into. If you could live independently but struggle socially, you had Asperger's. If you had more severe impairments, however, which left you dependent on others for life, you had classic autistic disorder. Others that fell somewhere in the middle would often be the pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, or PPD, PDD, NOS. That's a very general description. It's far more complicated than this. but it gives you, hopefully, guys, a good idea. This is where the term low functioning and high functioning often become a point of contention among most experts, autistics, parents, and everyone else in this world. As we progress further and further, however, we have become increasingly aware that many people that are actually able to communicate quite well once given the means to, such as an iPad or a voice box which can modulate text into speech. We've also come to discover that just because an autistic may score low on a conventional IQ test, they may actually still be very smart. In fact, they could be really brilliant. They can outsmart us. It's just that the IQ test, as well as the communication before, during, and after, was not done in a manner that was understood by any individual. So labeling as a person as low functioning because they could not speak or scored low on an IQ test was very much inaccurate and inappropriate use of this term. So during the post-DSM-5, however, will be wiping out many of the individual disorders within the spectrum and replacing them with the levels, 3 levels to be exact. These 3 levels will essentially make up exactly what we will come to know as low functioning and high functioning, as I said, and then 1 level is somewhere in the middle. They break it down like this: requiring support, requiring substantial support, requiring very substantial support. If you don't believe me, obviously you can look it up, obviously, in this website that I'm going to link below. Well, this will once again obviously open the terminology into very vague misinterpretations by many of us, especially for those that may not never heard of these terms or has been much less read. The DSM will also attempt to very much define exactly what low and high functioning is supposed to mean, which means that most people won't know what these levels mean, but if someone does use these terminology, you'll know now I'll have something to point them to. Okay, in conclusion, basically, I understand the frustration when you read or hear someone using terms like this incorrectly or not at all, really. But at this point, we all have to get used to it. It's coming one way or another. The only difference is that it's a little more defined, and now there will be 3 instead of just 2. So the next time you see someone using these terms, check for their accuracy against the actual DSM-5 records or the book. If you can't stop people from using them, you might as well try to get them to use them correctly, at least. Since I'm not sure how I fit in neatly into these categories, however, of autism anyway, because I find them disrespectful to myself as a human being, I refuse to use these functioning labels, because obviously me being the way I am, Asperger's syndrome, it can defame us basically and make us feel small and make us look like we don't have any confidence. It rubs off our self-esteem and everything else. We should be able to love ourselves as well as the person that is autistic, however, and accept them no matter what, on how much support we need. No matter how much spoken language we use or what have you, or because our life is worth living. For me, I just feel ugly and gross and disgusted by these words, or who would force people that want to use these categories of high to low functioning. And this can also to develop about how worthy we are based on what we can and can't do. So basically, quickly, based on the assumptions, let's just assume basically that a child is high functioning, whatever that means. Okay, I'll tell you this, that it is not okay to determine how much acceptance an autistic person deserves based on their functioning levels. You are making assumptions based on your own bigotry and your own beliefs. You are assuming that I could only love myself or accept anyone who is autistic because I know what it is like to deal with real autism. Do you realize that it says a lot more about you than it does to an autistic person or even myself? It is saying that you think that a loving person you consider high functioning is easier than loving a person that needs more support. It is saying that it's okay to accept someone who is able to pass or conform, but not someone whose disability makes that impossible. It is saying that some autistic people are worth more than others. It is saying that you think it's okay to write off the very real support that we need, that you deem high functioning. Because if they can pass sometimes, they must be able to get over themselves and pass all the time. It is saying that you don't know the first thing about autism. It is also saying that you have some deeply held and rather troubling ableist beliefs that you should probably come to terms with or get help with. On a personal level, though, just to share this, even though it's going to be repetitive on the second part, I find these assumptions to be incredibly insulting to me and the people in the autistic community, because you're putting a value on life of people like me with autism based on your own ignorance. Don't you dare say this to me or anyone in particular who is autistic. Yes, I may need a lot more support, regardless if I am able to know as I'm coming of age and whatnot. I still love myself and accept myself for who and what I am, as well as others around me that are autistic. Completely and totally, no matter what development track he or she is on. I am disgusted and offended by those that think basically my self-love for myself is conditional and based on myself isn't being a real autistic. Nothing could be further more from the truth, though. I accept all things about myself, the gifts, the talents, the challenges, and my whole complete self. This can't be separated from my neurology, however, and I wouldn't want it to be so. You are harming and dehumanizing me and all the autistic people out there when you perpetrate your ableist beliefs. Stop telling people that some autistics are worth accepting while others are not. Stop making assumptions about myself or other autistic people based on your own ignorance and prejudice. Most importantly, stop talking about autism as if you understand it all when clearly you don't, because obviously when you use these functioning labels, obviously, again, I'll repeat, these are obviously clearly showing you that you don't. Well, this basically is part one of the high functioning and low functioning autism. What is the key difference? Give me a like, 5 thumbs up, or support, comment below, share these messages around. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so. Don't forget to turn the notification bell on. Thanks for your support, thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do. Until next time, I'll see you again soon. Ciao. Amazing.